Good afternoon, this is Jeff again here at 19335 Southwest Blaine Street here in Beaverton. Second video, my stinking tablet just ran out of memory there halfway through that. So anyway, we're going to have two videos. We're starting off where the last one ended here. So I was just talking about the little belly there. It runs from around 64 to 68 feet. At its worst point, you might have a half inch of standing water. That is very minor in the world of bellies. And it's also a very long distance from the house. You can see the only debris I can even talk about in the line was a bunch of stuff that should not have gone down it, that we've already pushed through. As you noticed here on the sidewalls of the sewer line, the top of the pipe is spotless clean. That is not a spot that is causing recurring issues, and I would not expect to see that from a belly that size, not especially from that distance. If you beat this line up hard enough to even develop a blockage there, you know, let's theoretically say you got a blockage that started at 64 feet. You have to fill up a very, very large amount of sewer pipe. We're talking 64 feet just to the foundation wall, if not probably another 10, 15 feet, 20 feet to the first fixture. You're having to fill probably 75 to 80 feet of sewer pipe just to get back to the first fixture in the house. That amount of head pressure is extreme. That's the water weight that sits on a blockage. There are very few blockages that could withstand that kind of head pressure building up behind it and not break loose long before it got back to the first fixture. The stuff that can withstand that kind of head pressure are improper items. Wipes, paper towels, things of that nature. Anyway, all the concrete pipe out, drains out. It's in good shape for its age. All the joints appear to be tight. You've got a little bit of standing water there from 64 to 68 feet. Considering the age of this thing is held up quite nicely, at least the concrete pipe has. So the cast iron was the stuff I was actually a little bit more concerned about. And right now my camera is upside down. You have a little bit of scale build up there towards the end of the cast iron. That stuff's been busted up by my camera. That'll start flowing off. All right, we'll see here as we get back closer in. I think we might have had a root intrusion just outside the foundation wall. You got some bigger, woodier bushes there, and you know, in the event we do have some roots here that need repairs, during the process, you know, again, assuming it needs repairs, I would be getting rid of every bush in the vicinity of where this line is at. When you go and do a spot repair and you have new ABS pipe meshing up with older cast iron, anytime you have a transition joint or material transition where you're going ABS to cast iron to concrete, even more so when you have a diameter change, they are by far the weakest joints in your line to root intrusions by a country mile. And so anytime you've got one of those near existing foliage, you want to make sure you don't have anything there that's going to re-intrude the line. So you've got some little stringy stuff there in the flow line. I've seen some in a couple spots beyond this point. Thus far, most of it is looking like human hair. It's so small and fine that it's too small to even discern between whether it's teeny tiny root hairs or human hair. We're still seeing some of that stringy stuff on the sidewalls there, but I don't see any obvious points of entry into the line. And you've got rougher cast iron like this. Anything stringy that goes down the pipe tends to get hung up on that. And right here, I think the line is actually making a diameter change. It looks like we're going from 3 to 4 inch pipe right here. Now, on this big hunk of junk, this is a hard one. I mean, I can clearly tell whoever was living here at one point had a lot of hair. That right there is undoubtedly hair. Let's see if I can knock this thing loose. This is actually looking more like a big clump of hair now. And if you look up at the top of the pipe there, what that is it looks like it's actually peeling off the top of the pipe wall. Originally, I thought there may have been a pipe joint there. I don't even see a joint. That is right in front of the sewer cleanout, which I'm going to go locate really quick. But now that I get a better look at that, what it looks like is you get a big clump of hair that busts loose. Sometimes someone, has to drain clean a drain out because it's clogged up, and it pushes a huge clump of hair into the line, and it gets hung up somewhere. But the way that's attached to the top of the pipe is it's stuck to the side or to the top of the pipe wall. It doesn't show any signs there of actually entering into a pipe joint. And what we're looking at there is clearly a gigantic ball of hair. Very little about that looks like roots when you get up close to it when the line's drained out. First glance it did when we first had water running through, but that is definitely hair. I've been doing this 13 years. I've cambered almost 25,000 sewer lines. I have seen thousands and thousands of roots, and that is a clump of hair. Anyway, I'm gonna go locate the clean out so at least know where that's at. All right, and the clean out is, I'm amazed I didn't see it. This is just where I thought it was. It's just to the left of the door. And what you can often get, because there's a clean out access there, anytime you have a tie-in like that, especially on the outside of a home, there are spots where spiders love to build their cobwebs because they can build on the ledge and get up out of the flow line. And so if you get a clump of hair that runs into a big old nasty bunch of cobwebs, it can get hung up that way originally. They stay stuck pretty effectively. Now this all drained out much better than I thought. What was causing, I think, that rough and bumpy texture at the start of the line was just all the junk someone had flushed down this thing. My camera was going over the top of it and breaking it all loose. This is for a line this age. This thing is held up beautifully. The only gradation issue I can even nitpick is a rinky-dink little 4-foot long belly that's hardly worth talking about. And for reference, I don't even consider repairs on bellies until you have at least a 5-foot section with at least 1 inch of water in it. That's with no water at all, or running at all. That's fully drained out, and most of those I don't even recommend fixes on. The only times I do is when they're in rough old pipe materials and when they're very close proximity to the home. 64 feet out, if you get a blockage out in that spot out there in 6-inch concrete, which is big diameter pipe in that little of standing water, most of which is at about 1/4 of an inch, it would have almost nothing to do with the belly at all. There's that little of it there at those distances. So anyhow, we have good flow all the way out to the main lateral connection. All the pipe we scoped here today, all of it appears to be intact and in good condition for its age. Sewer line is functioning properly at this time. One thing I will tell you, with these older lines and the advent of trenchless epoxy lining systems, like anything, nothing lasts for forever. This is an older sewer line, but it's held up nicely. If this is a home you're going to be in a long time, I would recommend rescoping the line about every 2 to 3 years to keep an eye on things. And the first stuff you want to watch for are the joints wearing out, especially in the concrete pipe. It's got a little more finite lifespan than cast iron does because of the grouted joints. If you start to see those joints opening up to the ground and obviously allowing groundwater and dirt to come through, that's when you want to look into the prospect of doing a liner. Once that process gets underway for too long, your line can start dropping and settling on you. And if it goes too far gone, you'll lose the ability to do a liner on it, or you won't get a good result out of it. And that saves big money when you don't have to go cracking the street open. So that's, as nicely as this line is aged, I don't suspect that's going to be a year from now. That's down the road. But it's a good maintenance thing to keep up with. On a line like this, being that you're responsible all the way to the main out here, you're talking about 3 times less money, if not 4 times less money to line it versus traditional repairs. So it's a good thing to do for just maintenance purposes. Anyway, very nicely functioning line here as it sits here today, especially with all that junk moved out of the pipe now.